Listen, I have been teaching combat theory at the Galactic Military Academy for 73 cycles. 73. I have trained Krillian shock troopers who can survive in vacuum for hours. I have mentored Vexenar assassins whose reflexes operate faster than most species can think. I have even, and this pains me to admit, passed a Drokath berserker who once ate his own training dummy. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the human. Her name was Kira Voss. Average height for her species, maybe 1.7 meters. Brown hair tied back in what humans call a ponytail. Dark eyes that seemed perpetually amused by some private joke. When she walked into my advanced weapons seminar wearing actual leather boots, actual fabric clothing, and carrying what appeared to be a primitive metal sword, I thought it was hazing. First week pranks. Some idiot upperclassman putting the new alien through embarrassment. Instructor Vextral, she said, her translator rendering her speech in perfectly neutral galactic standard. Reporting for advanced plasma combat theory. I looked at the sword. It looked back at me. Metaphorically, of course. Swords do not have eyes. Cadet Voss, I said slowly, clicking my mandibles in what I hoped conveyed extreme patience. This is a plasma weapons course. That is a sharp piece of metal. Do you see the disconnect? Oh, this? She patted the sword like it was a pet. This is Whisper. We go everywhere together. Whisper. She had named it. Sweet, merciful void. She had named her sword. Cadet. Modern warfare moved beyond edge weapons approximately 4,000 standard years ago. The plasma rifle, I gestured to the rack behind me, can punch through 6 inches of reinforced durasteel from 300 meters. Your sword can do what, exactly? Give the enemy a nasty scratch if they stand very still? Several students laughed, mostly the Targven twins, who laughed at everything. Their species finds humor in entropy itself, so I never take them as a reliable gauge of actual comedy. Kira just smiled, not a nervous smile, not an embarrassed smile, a smile that suggested she knew something I did not, and oh, how I have come to dread that expression. Permission to demonstrate, instructor. I should have said no. By all the star-crossed wisdom of my ancestors, I should have said no. But you know what? I was tired. It had been a long cycle. 3 meetings about resource allocation, 2 arguments with the dean about curriculum updates, 1 unfortunate incident involving a plasma grenade and the cafeteria that I'm still not allowed to discuss. So I said, fine, sure, show us what your primitive stabbing stick can do against modern technology. She walked to the center of the training floor, smooth, confident, like she had done this 1,000 times before. The other cadets formed a loose circle, 17 species represented in that room. Everyone from methane-breathing Zolpec to the crystalline harmonics, who technically do not even have bodies in the traditional sense, all of them waiting to see the human make a fool of herself. I activated Training Drone 7. Standard combat model. Equipped with low-power plasma repeaters that sting like hell but will not actually kill anyone. Probably. Depends on your personal pain tolerance and whether you have internal organs, really. Drone will fire on my mark, I announced. Cadet Voss, your objective is to not get hit. Should be simple enough. You may move freely around the training area, use cover, tactical roles, whatever your species does to avoid being turned into cooked meat. Can I engage the drone? She asked. I laughed, actually laughed. My throat sacs inflated with genuine mirth. With your sword? Against a flying combat drone? Sure, cadet. You may try. The other students were snickering now. Even serious, studious Wren from the front row cracked what passed for a smile on his rocky features. Mark, I said. The drone, activated. Humming to life with that distinctive whine plasma coils make when they charge. It rose 3 meters off the ground, targeting sensors painting Kira with acquisition lasers. Standard attack pattern, 3-burst fire, reassess, repeat. Basic, but effective. The first plasma bolt screamed through the air. Kira moved, not away, toward. She stepped into the shot's trajectory, and her sword became a blur of motion. I heard the distinctive crack of plasma meeting metal, saw the bolt deflect at a 40-degree angle and splash harmlessly against the far wall. Silence. Complete and total silence in the training hall. What? Said Wren very quietly. Was that? The drone fired again. 2 bolts this time. Kira's sword moved in a figure-8 pattern, batting both shots away like they were annoying insects. Then she was running, closing the distance to the drone while it recalculated its attack pattern. Impossible, I heard myself say. The heat alone should melt that blade. The kinetic energy should shatter her arms. The physics do not work. Clearly they do, Instructor, observed Pela, one of the Vexnar students. Her species appreciates efficiency. Right now she was watching Kira with the intensity of a predator, seeing something new and potentially threatening. The drone switched to rapid fire. 15 bolts in 3 seconds. Standard suppression protocol. Kira stopped running, planted her feet, and her sword became something else entirely. Not just moving, flowing, like liquid metal given purpose. Every bolt redirected, every shot deflected. She was not fighting the plasma. She was dancing with it. Then she jumped. Humans can jump surprisingly high when motivated, apparently. She cleared 2 meters vertically, sword extended, and brought it down on the drone's central processor. The blade cut through military-grade armor plating like it was decorative foil. The drone sparked, sputtered, crashed to the floor in a heap of expensive, broken technology. Kira landed lightly, not even breathing hard, and slid her sword back into its sheath with a soft, metallic whisper. "So," she said brightly, "did I pass?" I could not speak. My translator could not find adequate words in any of the 47 languages I know. The other cadets were staring, some with admiration, some with fear. The Targven twins were laughing again, but this time with genuine delight. Finally I found my voice. "How?" "How what, Instructor? How did you block plasma with steel? That is not possible. Thermodynamics forbid it. Materials science forbids it. Common sense forbids it extremely loudly while waving warning flags." Kira shrugged. "Humans have been playing with swords for about 5,000 years, give or take. We got pretty good at it. When we developed plasma weapons 3 centuries ago, some of us wondered if the old skills might still have applications. Turns out, they do. You just have to understand angles, timing, and not think too hard about whether something should be possible." "That blade should be molten slag," insisted Ren. "I ran calculations while you moved. The thermal load alone requires heat dissipation that no terrestrial metal can achieve." "Oh, Whisper isn't normal steel," Kira said, patting the sword again. "She is folded carbine tungsten composite with a quantum-stabilized molecular lattice, basically indestructible. Also, really expensive. My grandmother gave her to me. Family heirloom." "Your grandmother," I said flatly, "gave you a sword capable of deflecting plasma fire." "Well, she upgraded it first. Original version was just regular folded steel from Earth. Granny Voss fought in the Proxima campaign. She figured future generations might need better equipment." This was insane, all of this. "Cadet Voss, even with advanced materials, the technique requires impossible reaction speeds. You would need to predict trajectory, calculate deflection angles, and execute precise movements in milliseconds." "Yeah," Kira agreed. "It is super hard. Took me 12 years to get decent at it. I started training when I was 6. 6. Human years. They're short, quick years." She had been practicing this madness since childhood. "Right," I said, because what else could I say? "Class dismissed. Except you, Cadet Voss. We need to discuss your curriculum placement." The other students filed out, whispering among themselves. I could already imagine the rumors spreading through the academy. The human who cuts plasma. The primitive with the magic sword. By evening meal, the story would have grown to her single-handedly defeating an entire assault wing, armed only with a sharp stick and attitude. When the hall emptied, I looked at Kira properly. Really looked. She was still smiling, that small, knowing smile. "You did this on purpose," I said. "The whole primitive warrior act. You wanted to shock us." "Maybe a little," she admitted. "Humans have a reputation problem. Everyone thinks we are either crazy warmongers or lucky idiots who stumbled into space travel. Sometimes it is nice to remind people that we are actually very good at specific, weird things. We adapt, we improvise. We take old solutions and apply them to new problems in ways that make everyone else uncomfortable. Mission accomplished on the uncomfortable part," she laughed. Actually laughed, bright and clear. "Instructor Vextral, I am here to learn. Really. Plasma rifles, tactical theory, All of it. But I am also here to show that humanity brings something unique. We do not always follow the logical path. Sometimes we take the stupid path, and it works anyway because we are too stubborn to accept that it should not. I clicked my mandibles thoughtfully. 73 cycles of teaching, thousands of students, multiple species, countless weapon systems, and here was something genuinely new. Tomorrow, I said, you will demonstrate your technique in detail, slowly, with explanation. I want to understand the biomechanics, the physics, all of it. Sure thing, instructor. And Cadet Voss, bring more drones. That was drone 7. She was my favorite. Kira winced. Sorry about that. I will buy the academy a new one. Forget it. Consider it tuition. But I am serious about the demonstration. If humans can deflect plasma with swords, I need to know how. Because if you can do it, enemies can learn it. And I need to teach my students how to counter it. Fair point. She headed for the door, then paused. Instructor, for what it is worth, I think you are an excellent teacher. You actually let me try instead of just saying no. Most instructors would have shut me down immediately. Yes, well, most instructors have not been doing this for 73 cycles. You learn to expect the unexpected. Or in humanity's case, the aggressively improbable. She grinned and left. I stood alone in the training hall, looking at the destroyed drone, the scorch marks on the walls, the small scratches on the floor where her boots had pivoted. Somewhere in the academy archives, I needed to file a report about this. What would I even say? Human demonstrates prehistoric combat technique against modern weapons. Results? Disturbing success, damaged equipment, shattered instructor confidence. My communicator chimed. Message from the Dean. Vex Tral. Heard you let a human destroy Drone 7 with a sword. Is this true? I sighed. Of course, the rumors were already reaching administration. Affirmative, Dean. Though technically she destroyed it. I merely failed to prevent the destruction. Need full report by morning. Also, engineering wants to examine the sword. Also, 3 other cadets have now requested permission to bring traditional weapons to class. What have you started? What indeed? I looked at the wreckage again. Somewhere, somehow, humanity had taken one of the oldest weapons in galactic history and made it relevant again. Not through superior technology, not through overwhelming force, through sheer, bloody-minded refusal to accept that something was obsolete just because everyone said so. This was going to be an interesting semester. The next morning, I arrived at the training hall to find 43 cadets waiting outside. 43. My class roster listed 18. Where did the extra 25 come from? Instructor Vex Tral, said Cadet Mira, a Solan whose scales shimmered nervously. We heard about yesterday, about the human. Is it true she blocked plasma with a sword? Yes, Cadet, it is true. Now why are you here? You are in basic tactics, not advanced plasma combat. Permission to audit the class? Instructor? Behind her, 24 heads nodded eagerly. Species I had never taught before. Aquilon observer, whose translation device was already recording. 3 Harbinger drones floating silently, their collective consciousness apparently fascinated by yesterday's events. I clicked my mandibles in resignation. Fine, but stay quiet and do not touch anything. Especially the drones. We have already lost one this week. They filed in, filling every available space. My actual students looked simultaneously annoyed and smug. Ren had claimed front row center, datapad ready to record everything. Pela sat with her kind, all 7 Vexnar students watching the entrance with predatory focus. Kira arrived exactly on time, Whisper strapped to her back. She paused when she saw the crowd, then grinned. Should I sell tickets? Just get to the center floor, Cadet. We have much to cover, and apparently half the academy to witness it. She moved to the demonstration area. I had prepared 5 drones overnight. Different models, different capabilities. If we were doing this, we were doing it properly. Cadet Voss, I began formally. Yesterday you demonstrated an unusual combat technique. Today you will explain, in detail, how a human with a primitive blade defeats modern plasma weaponry. Begin with the basics. Kira drew Whisper. The sword caught the overhead lights, gleaming with that peculiar sheen advanced alloys produced. Nearly a meter long, slightly curved, single-edged. Elegant in its simplicity. Right, she said. So, first thing to understand is that plasma bolts are not instant. They travel at roughly 0.7% light speed, depending on the weapon. That is fast, but not too fast to see. Humans have reaction times around 0.25 seconds for visual stimuli. Trained fighters can go faster, much faster. 0.1 to 3 seconds, Ren said, checking his datapad. I researched human combat specialists last night. Some martial artists achieve reaction speeds down to 0.1 seconds. Exactly, Kira confirmed. But speed alone does not work. You also need prediction. Plasma weapons have targeting systems. Those systems create patterns, slight movements before firing, charge-up times, power fluctuations. If you watch carefully, you see the shot coming before it happens. I activated Drone 1. Standard model, same as yesterday. Demonstrate. The drone rose and targeted Kira. This time I watched more carefully. The acquisition lasers painted her. The drone's barrel angled. A faint whine as the plasma coil charged. Maybe 0.3 seconds total warning. Kira did not move until the bolt fired. Then her sword intercepted it, angled precisely, and the plasma scattered across the blade's surface before dissipating. See? She said calmly. The key is angles. Plasma is energized matter. Hit it wrong, and it splashes everywhere, including on you. Hit it right, and the energy disperses along the blade's edge. The quantum-stabilized lattice helps. It channels heat away faster than normal matter, but technique matters more than equipment. Show us a mistake, Pela called out. Show us what happens when you do it wrong. Kira hesitated. That is harder to demonstrate without getting hurt. Use low power setting, I suggested. Enough to see the error, not enough to cause actual injury. She considered, then nodded. I dialed Drone 1 down to minimum output. Training level. Would sting badly but not cause lasting damage. The drone fired. Kira deliberately angled her sword incorrectly, maybe 5 degrees off optimal. The plasma bolt hit the blade and splashed, not fully redirected. She jerked back, arms smoking slightly, face tight with pain. The audience gasped. Several cadets jumped to their feet. I am fine, Kira said quickly, shaking her arm. See? Wrong angle means partial deflection. In real combat, that partial hit could kill you. Technique must be perfect, every single time. No exceptions. That is insane, someone whispered. I think it was one of the Quillan observers. Yes, Kira agreed cheerfully. Completely insane. That is why most humans use guns like sensible people. But some of us like the challenge. Plus, swords never run out of ammunition. I activated Drone 2. Military-grade targeting system. Faster processing. Multiple targets. How do you handle suppression fire? Prioritization, Kira said. You cannot block everything. You block what will hit you and dodge the rest. Watch. Both drones opened fire. Staggered shots. 6 bolts in 4 seconds. Kira moved through them like water flowing around stones. Block, pivot, duck, block again. Fluid motion, no wasted movement. When the barrage ended, she stood untouched, breathing slightly harder but still composed. Combat awareness, she explained. You track every threat, process everything simultaneously. Decide in microseconds which shots are critical and which can be avoided. Humans call it being in the zone. Total focus, no thoughts, just action. Ren raised his hand. Question. How do you train for this? Surely you do not simply practice with live fire until you achieve mastery or die trying. Kira laughed. No, though that would be very human. We start with slow-motion drills, virtual reality simulations, rubber swords, and foam projectiles. You build muscle memory over years, thousands of repetitions until the movements become instinctive. By the time you face real plasma, your body knows what to do without conscious thought. How many hours of training? Pela asked, professional interest sharp in her voice. To reach basic competency? Maybe 5,000 hours. To master it like Granny Voss? 20,000. Easy. She spent 40 years practicing. The hall fell silent. 20,000 hours. Even by Vexnar standards, that was dedication bordering on obsession. I activated Drone 3, heavy assault model, wider plasma dispersal. How do you handle area effect weapons? Very carefully, Kira admitted. Wide area plasma is harder. You cannot block everything, so you prioritize protecting vital areas. Head, chest, major arteries. You accept minor burns to extremities if necessary. Also, you move, constantly. Make yourself a difficult target. The drone fired a spreading plasma wave. Kira dropped low, sword held horizontally above her head, deflecting the center mass while the edges washed past her position. Her left shoulder caught some splash. She grimaced but held position. In real combat, I would also use cover. Swords are great, but walls work too. Humans believe in using every advantage. Fighting fair is for idiots and people who want to die heroically. Several students chuckled. Even I felt my throat sacs flutter with amusement. She had a point. Honor in combat was fine until honor got you killed. Instructor, called Mira. Could other species learn this technique? Good question. I looked at Kira, curious about her answer. Maybe, she said thoughtfully. Depends on physiology. You need good reflexes, excellent hand-eye coordination, and enough strength to control the blade precisely. Some species could definitely do it. Vexnar, for example. She nodded at Pela. Your reaction times are faster than human baseline. With training, you would probably exceed human capability. Pela's eyes brightened with interest. Several of her companions leaned forward eagerly. However, Kira continued, you also need the right mindset. This technique requires accepting that you will get hurt during training. You will make mistakes. Plasma will hit you. You will burn repeatedly. Most species prefer not getting burned repeatedly. Humans are comfortable with pain? I asked. Not comfortable. We hate pain, but we accept it as part of learning. We have a saying, no pain, no gain. Suffering teaches lessons that safety never can. That explains so much about your species, I muttered. Kira grinned. We are basically crazy, yes, but it works. I activated the final 2 drones simultaneously. Both heavy combat models, full power, last demonstration, maximum difficulty. Show us what happens against overwhelming firepower. Her expression shifted. The playfulness vanished, replaced by intense focus. She rolled her shoulders, adjusted her grip on Whisper, and settled into a stance I had not seen before. Lower center of gravity, blade held at a diagonal. Ready, Instructor. Both drones opened fire. Coordinated assault, crossfire patterns designed to eliminate cover options, 12 bolts in 6 seconds from overlapping angles. What happened next defied adequate description. Kira became a storm. Her sword moved faster than my eyes could properly track. Block, redirect, spin, block again. She used the drone's own crossfire against them, deflecting bolts from one drone into the path of the other's shots. Plasma collided with plasma in mid-air, energy dissipating in spectacular bursts. She was not just defending. She was controlling the battlefield. One drone adjusted its targeting, trying to flank. Kira redirected a bolt directly into its sensor array. The drone sparked and wobbled. The second drone increased fire rate, attempting suppression. She dropped to one knee, sword whirling in a defensive sphere, every bolt turned aside. Then she moved. Impossibly fast sprint toward the wavering drone. Whisper came up in a rising slash that severed its primary power coupling. The drone died instantly. The second drone recalculated, recognized threat level had increased, and attempted tactical withdrawal. Too late. Kira's sword flashed in 3 quick strikes. Sensors, weapon mount, propulsion system. The drone crashed heavily to the floor. Silence. Again. Always silence. After she fought. Kira straightened, breathing hard now, sweat on her forehead, but smiling, always that confident smile, and that, ladies, gentlemen, and crystalline entities, is how you fight 2 targets with a sword. The hall erupted, not in applause, that would be inappropriate for a military setting, but in excited chatter, urgent questions, a dozen conversations, starting simultaneously. I raised my voice, quiet, all of you. The noise subsided. Cadet Voss, you have made your point, thoroughly, expensively. Those were not cheap drones. Sorry, Instructor. Want me to pay for those too? No. This is research now. The Academy can absorb the cost. I paused, considering my next words carefully. What you demonstrated changes tactical assumptions we have held for generations. If humans can make archaic weapons viable against modern technology, we must reconsider what we teach about combat evolution. Does this mean I can keep bringing Whisper to class? Kira asked hopefully. Yes, but you will also learn proper plasma rifle techniques. Swords are impressive, but they have limitations. Range, primarily. You cannot deflect a shot from 300 meters away. Actually, she said slowly, Granny Voss once deflected a sniper bolt from 400 meters, but that was mostly luck and really good eyesight. Of course she did. Why would I expect anything less? Class dismissed. Except advanced students, you stay. We need to discuss integrating unconventional tactics into our curriculum. I looked at the crowd of auditors. The rest of you, return to your assigned classes. This is not entertainment. They filed out reluctantly, but I noticed Pela lingering, speaking quietly with Kira. Exchanging contact information, perhaps. The beginning of something interesting. When the hall cleared to just my regular students, I faced them seriously. What we witnessed is not just about swords or plasma. It is about thinking differently. Humans excel at taking old ideas and forcing them to work in new contexts. That adaptability is their greatest weapon, more dangerous than any blade. Should we be worried, Instructor? Ren asked. If humans can do this with swords, what else are they hiding? Good question. Troubling question. Probably everything, I admitted. Humanity has been in the galactic community for barely a century. They are still revealing capabilities. My advice? Do not underestimate them, ever. They are not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the smartest, but they are persistent, creative, and absolutely refuse to accept limitations that other species consider absolute. Kira was cleaning Whisper with a cloth, carefully removing plasma residue. She looked up and caught my gaze. That smile again, knowing, confident, slightly dangerous. Same time tomorrow, Instructor? She asked. Yes, Cadet. Same time. Bring your sword, bring your attitude, but also bring openness to learning. Because as impressive as your demonstration was, there is always room for improvement. Yes, Instructor. I look forward to it. As she left, I found myself believing her. She genuinely wanted to learn, to grow, to become better. That was perhaps the most human thing about her. Not the sword skills or the crazy technique. The relentless drive to improve despite already being exceptional. I spent the rest of the day filing reports, answering messages from curious faculty members, and dealing with 3 formal requests from other cadets who wanted to bring traditional weapons to class. The academy was going to have opinions about this. Strong opinions. Probably several committee meetings, but as I sat in my office that evening, reviewing footage of Kira's demonstrations, I felt something I had not experienced in cycles. Excitement, genuine curiosity about what came next. 73 cycles of teaching. Thousands of students, every species, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine the galaxy knew. And then one human with a sword reminded me that we do not know everything, that innovation comes from unexpected places, that the old ways might have something to teach the new. Tomorrow, we would begin integrating her techniques into broader combat theory. Other students would learn from her. She would learn from them. Knowledge would spread, evolve, adapt. That was the point of the academy. Not just to maintain existing knowledge, but to discover new possibilities. Even if those possibilities involved deflecting plasma with steel and refusing to accept that something was impossible just because physics said so. Humans. Impossible, improbable, infuriating, inspiring humans. I clicked my mandibles in amusement and filed my final report. Subject line, regarding the viability of archaic weapons in modern combat, a case study. The dean was going to hate this. Absolutely hate it. I smiled and hit send.